There are people who talk about disordered gaming. Disordered gaming is a thing. When you have disordered gaming, if you treat the underlying mental health issues, whether it's, depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever the diagnosis is, the levels of disordered gaming tend to become more stable for whatever is normal for that household. So in my household, I literally run a video game company. We probably play more video games than other households. But I think people are always looking for a simple solution to a complex problem. And it's much easier to blame video games than to address guns or to address mental health. So it's much easier to say, well, the video games make my child act this way instead of, oh, my child might have some mental health challenges and we need to address them. And they're not always clear.
Vanessa Lane, I am so excited to have you here on the pod. I've literally been crossing out the dates until I can record with you. I feel like a kid on Christmas right now. It's so great to have you here. One of my favorite Ann Arbor founders. It's so rare to have somebody be in gaming and succeeding so much in the Midwest, and you're certainly in that category. But then also, I just love your company at the intersection of cozy gaming and mental health. And man, I could just compliment you for an hour. So if you want me to do that, I'm down. But
listen, it is so good to be here. It's an honor. I've loved watching you succeed. It's truly an honor. So I mean, I'm sure people who are watching and listening to the pod understand that you are a good guy. But Max is really a good guy and a founder friend, and it's a gem. You're just a gem of a person. So I'm really grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
My gosh, so touching. It's awesome that we're gassing each other up, because I feel like we're in the era of mental health and cozy gaming. That feels like, if we look back on this period of time, this is the dawn of the cozy game. What would you say though, Vanessa? Because everybody knows now the term cozy gaming. I feel like it's
Right.
kind of been in the atmosphere. We're starting to talk about it more and more in conversation. But tell me, what do you think people who don't build cozy games, don't build mental health games, what they're getting wrong about cozy gaming? What's a common myth?
Yes, so cozy gaming has been in the public dialogue for some time now. Really 2018 is when cozy gaming really, first started to be seen in Google search and on social and stuff like that. And the thing is about cozy gaming, I think most people, most Americans especially, and this is probably true globally, would recognize Animal Crossing, even if they don't play video games. I actually just spoke to a group of seniors, really truly 70 to 80-year-olds who understood what Animal Crossing was. So a lot of people have that brand recognition with Nintendo or big popular games. But what a lot of casual gamers get wrong about cozy gaming is that cozy gamers do like to be challenged. There's this myth that cozy gamers, just want to sit back and sip tea and have it's all about the aesthetic. And it is, don't get me wrong, the aesthetic is super important and it is about a lifestyle. And there is a cozy gamer type of person, tends to be a female, but it's not always a female. But really, truly, these people are gamers. There's no step down in the gaming ability. And so that's why when you see games I think of Dave the Diver, or even to stretch it a little bit further, Legend of Zelda, there are cozy elements in those games. And you see a lot of people who have branded themselves as cozy gamers really stretching into those types of titles as well. So cozy gamers are gamers. They're great gamers. They want to be challenged. And they play other games besides cozy games. So I think that's really important. These people do really like to prioritize their mental health, though. So I don't know. What would you say about that? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you're gonna have to educate me, because that's so fascinating to me. I did not expect that answer at all. I thought a core tenet of cozy gaming, the core element of it, was
Mhm.
a game where people don't want to be challenged, or isn't terribly difficult or challenging. But part of me, it's funny because part of me never really fully grasped that. You know what I mean? Part of me was I don't necessarily accept that answer, because you mentioned Legend of Zelda, and yeah, you could honestly talk about it as a cozy game because it has cozy aesthetics, cozy elements, but it's very challenging. I still have not beat Breath of the Wild personally, so
Relatable. Relatable. Yeah, yeah. So That's a great point, though. I mean, I think too, cozy and casual often get those words often get conflated, and cozy gamers so the cozy gaming genre is still being defined. This is a genre that's really popped up from the people. I love to call it like the people's genre, right? Most video game genres tend to be defined by a mechanic. Which makes sense. What do you do in the game? Well, it's a first-person shooter. It's a JRPG. It's real-time strategy, right? So it's a puzzle game. It's like, what do you do in this game? And that's how we define games. But, the cozy genre tends to be a little bit more artistic, creative, almost like the movies. So with movies, you have like a romantic comedy, like a rom-com, right? A drama, a horror. So we're seeing that with cozy gaming where it's instead of being defined based on a mechanic, it's actually defined by an affect, how it makes you feel. And so the way that a game makes someone feel is going to be a little bit subjective, but some people really feel better when they're being challenged a little bit. So you've got, you've got this like wide, the cozy gaming genre is so interesting because you have like this wide variety of games that can kind of be called cozy. So you've got like the unpacking games, right? Like you just unpack something, or you've got games where it's like Legend of Zelda and it's like very much a narrative adventure game. It's very driven by that, but then you can take a lot of time, like what my daughter does. She's 9, spends all of her time making food. Like she thinks that's just the best part of the game. It's like, well, there is also this big boss fight. So there's different elements to it, and it's really we haven't even scratched the surface of what cozy gaming can be.
It's just amazing to hear. Like it's so interesting, and it's really resonating with me. Um, Yeah, that it makes you feel cozy. It makes you feel
Mhm.
good. It relieves stress. And like that's the end result, and that's the most important thing. And how you get there is different for different people. And
Yeah.
so really we're broadening the term, which is nice.
Can I just ask you, like, what makes you feel good when you play? Like, what do you want to be playing, and what makes you feel like kind of relaxed?
My go-to game for sure is Hearthstone because that's the game that I'm really best at. So I feel very like in control. I think like one of the as we know, Vanessa, and I can't wait to talk to you about this, but gaming is like becoming like humanity's favorite form of therapy. Like it's one
Right.
of the most ubiquitous like forms of stress relief on
Right.
planet Earth. And I think a core reason why, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I think the world is so crazy and so much of it is out of our control. I think about politics. I think about the environment. I think about there's so many things that you can just
Yeah.
like get so anxious about. Gaming is this like really awesome ecosystem that puts you back in the driver's seat. You have agency, you have control, and that can be very therapeutic. And then you build confidence in the game and you take that confidence back with you out into the real world. That's how I feel about Hearthstone, to be honest with you. But you tell me.
Yeah. No, listen, like I think that's the thing about gaming is it's people like yourself who are hardcore gamers. I myself am a hardcore gamer. I love cozy games, no surprises there, but I also, I play some Civilization and some strategy games too. But you hit the nail on the head, and gaming, why gaming is so powerful. At Better Play, we say like video games are hiding in plain sight as powerful tools to support you, right? That's all. We're not trying to diagnose you. We're just trying to support you, and any video game has the potential to do that. And it's for the reason you just said. And maybe you know this or maybe you don't, but what you're talking about is self determination theory. Self determination theory is what makes games and play so effective for not just children, but for all people. And so self determination theory is based on relatedness. So being able to relate to other people. So in gaming, we know it's not just in these, massive multiplayer online games. It is also in the fact that, oh, I played Legend of Zelda, you play that too. Let's talk about it. It's like these single player games are also very relatable. It's autonomy. It's that feeling of control of like everything's going crazy out in the real world. We don't know, like, I don't know if I can say this, but we don't know what kind of president we're getting today or tomorrow. We don't know. We see the climate, going to hell in a handbasket. We see a lot. There's just chaos. Everything's on fire, and we just want to have 30 minutes of control or 3 hours or however long it has to be. So like that autonomy and competency. It's something that we feel great at. It's something where we can feel like we're growing in and improving in. And it's like, you know what? Like I'm getting my ass kicked in the real world. It is really hard being a startup founder. It's really hard being a teacher, a plumber, a lawyer, whatever it is you do. Let me just be good at Mario Kart. I'm just going to be good at this. I'm just going to be really good at Rainbow Road. I just need to have a win today. Got my 2-year old yelling at me, got this, got that. It's like, let me just have a win. So that's video games do that for us. And again, when I talk to people, it's like, it's not just video games, but video games are so powerful because not only is everybody playing them, but everybody's playing them, but they're just so immersive. Like they're just so immersive and relatable. And so you really hit the nail on the head, when you said that Hearthstone thing. Like, man, like that's where you feel like you're in the zone, and that's what that provides for you.
And you said something like early on in that segment, Vanessa, that I really want to emphasize because I don't want it to get buried is the community aspect. You're so right. Like I think there's this big myth that like gaming is this very lonely thing that like people
Yeah.
don't really like have this community. My when I played esports to the University of Michigan, my teammates were my ride or dies, and they're my friends for life. Like I know if I have a flat tire 2 hours away, like they're gonna drive through the mountains to save me. Um, I love and like look at this. Like we're video game nerds chatting
Look at
and we're gonna
us.
look at us. Look at us. I mean, like the whole idea that like I know, I know. So yeah, I think it's so ridiculous that people are like, oh, gamers are so lonely and introverted all the time and blah 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 blah. Couldn't be further from the truth. There's this big tournament happening in Dallas, just like a couple hours from me. Um, DreamHack this
Yeah.
weekend.
Nice.
I think there's going to be like 50,000 gaming nerds there or something, or 100,000. I don't know, but there's a huge cash prize, and like people are going to be geeking out. There's community around gaming, huge communities. So
Absolutely. People will say, because I got my career started, in middle school teaching. Like I literally taught like middle schoolers, one foot in childhood, one foot in adulthood. It was a crazy time. And the way that video games especially can bring like a star like golden boy quarterback and like a really nerdy introverted artistic girl, like they can be on the same team and they can be competing together and they think each other's cool because they have this thing in common. It brings cliques together. Like it's just this like amazing amazing community builder. And I think that community thing, in thinking about gaming and mental health, I mean, that's a huge part of it is like it just kind of cuts through the divides that we all have, and it's really powerful in that way. And those are the stories I hear from people where they're saying like, I've known, like I think of my uncle who's like a big video gamer, big D&D nerd. He's known for 30 years that video games have helped him with his mental health, but everyone told him that they weren't helping, that this is making him worse. He's like, no, this is making me better, and you guys are seeking to show that. And it's like those are the stories I hear all the time.
the people that seem to be like the most like anti gaming and they're like I don't know, just very like criticizing of gamers and gaming culture, they actually like what I find is it's almost like a defense mechanism because they're playing a lot of games themselves,
Right.
and they just don't know it or they're not cognizant of it. I'm in conversations all the time. I find myself in conversation all the time where I ask people, "Are you a gamer?" And they say, "No, no way, never game." Blah blah blah. And then I ask them like, "Well, do you play Wordle? Do you play
Yeah.
Candy Crush? Do you play Monopoly Go?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I play it every day." Like, and you look at their phone time, it's like they're playing more games than watching Netflix. And I'm like,
Right. It's like this counts.
I know. You don't have to necessarily. I understand that sometimes you don't wanna associate with the label of gamer because that would associate you with, like, the more hardcore end of the community, but, um, man, it's still all games and, like, just, like, ratting on people for their what they like about the gaming world is it seems weird to me.
So I'll say, and this is, I'm not really judgmental toward people in this way, but I say this in jest. Like when people tell me, my favorite answer is if I ask someone if they're a gamer, they'll say, "Oh, I used to." Like, almost like I grew out of that. Like, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, when someone tells me that they play video games, especially the older they are, I see that as like a hallmark of wellness because and not to get too serious, but like play is such a critical part of being well. It's like it reduces your stress. Like I'm saying things that everybody already knows, but like come on, especially in this economy, like we really need these kinds of things. Like reduces your stress, it connects you to other people, it gets you outside of your own head once in a while. Like you just gotta like go build something in Minecraft. Like you got a lot going on in your head, right? Just go build something, right? So I think when someone tells me that they do play video games, like I see that as like, okay, you know that you're wired to play. Like that you're this is just part of the human experience. It's part of what makes us different from rocks, right? Like we are made to play and we need each other and we need to be playing. And so I see that as like a really, really positive sign that they're looking after their mental health most of the time.
Yeah. Now, and the one trend that I've noticed that like I love to death, Vanessa, is I've noticed that a lot of millennials and Gen Xers are getting back into gaming through their kids. Like this is how they're connecting with their kids, which is really fantastic. Do you end up gaming with your daughter at all? And if so, what do you guys play together?
Oh, man, I sure do. Thanks for asking. Yeah, sometimes I don't forget that I have kids, but I don't always talk about them at work. So yeah, I've got 2 kids. Yeah, that's hopefully they never listen, right? Let's see, they're 6 and 9, and so I have a daughter and a son. My daughter is completely all in on Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. She beat Breath of the Wild. She's beaten Tears of the Kingdom. She watched my husband.
You're better than us.
Yeah, I know. It's like she is no, she's actually better than I am at most narrative adventures. And then because she is, because she's such a big reader, which again, like these things like feed each other. The Harry Potter, like the Hogwarts Legacy has been a really important game for her, and we've just really enjoyed that as a family. Like we all sit down together, we play it, project it on the TV. It's a family thing, morning coffee on Saturdays. Like that has been really fun family time for us. And then it's not all that serious. Like sometimes, like I would say Hogwarts Legacy or Zelda are pretty serious games, but I also have a 6-year-old and we play a lot of Ultra Food Mess. Have you tried that one? Oh, so good. That one okay, so Ultra Food Mess, I got introduced to that, through University of Michigan's Children's Hospital has this therapeutic gaming unit, and I volunteer there, and, they have all these games set up, that's for they're accessible because they've got, kids with all sorts of things going on who stay at the hospital who need some time to play, and this game can be really great for people who've never played a game before or they need an accommodation. And you just like you play as like a piece of food and you have to survive. It's like a King of the Hill, like battle royale style of play. So fun, 3.99, worth every cent and more.
I'm about to buy it right after this. So
You should. No, I'm not even kidding. You will love it. Yeah, you will love it for sure.
I'm canceling all my afternoon meetings to play Ultra Food Mess here this
As
afternoon.
you should. And there's a second one. There's a second one. And then man, the 6-year-old loves it. He thinks it's crazy. Like he just thinks it's funny. There's one where like you shoot hot dogs at each other. Like what's more dumb than that? Like it's kind of incredible.
That's incredible. I always think it's like, I I think it's tough to be a parent with regards to how you let your kids interact with media
Yeah,
today, in the social media age and the misinformation age and stuff. There's definitely like better and worse like gaming content, right? Like
of
some
course.
games, like of course, of course. How do you navigate that as a parent, Vanessa? Like give other parents some advice. Give me some advice, just an aspiring parent someday. How should I let my kids interact with games?
Yeah, and, I'll kind of, like, start I don't wanna be, like, too long-winded. Feel free to, like, cut me off because I could go all day. But I think first of all, like, whether people want kids or not, like, caring about what kids consume is kind of it's like, you're a citizen in this world. I think it's important for us to we should care what kids are doing. Um, I think too, first of all, it's just like the boundaries, like what are the boundaries? And every family is gonna be different, right? Like some families, have certain maybe they have like religious values or other values that shape the way their household is. So just like being aware of your own boundaries and like what makes sense to you. For example, in my household, we don't like guns very much. Like that's just not a thing that we want in our home. Even I'm pretty strict about like Nerf stuff too, or like the way my kids like talk about guns. I think it's a pretty big deal. So we don't play first person shooters. Now, I will tell you, I'm pretty well read on the research. I don't believe first-person shooters make you violent. There is not good peer-reviewed research that would suggest that first-person shooters make you violent. That's just not really a thing. Um, and that's a different topic.
Can we do that louder for Ted Cruz? Can we get them answered?
Yeah, right?
That's
Well,
great in Ted. It's not a it's not a big problem.
in fact, it can actually put you into a flow state, especially if you have PTSD. So it's often used in folks who are just returning from combat. So those are the studies that show positive results from playing first person shooters. And then obviously, I don't want to just say like I said that video games can be really good for your mental health. There are people who talk about disordered gaming. Disordered gaming is a thing. When you have disordered gaming, if you treat the underlying mental health issues, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever the diagnosis is, the levels of disordered gaming tend to become more stable for whatever is normal for that household. So in my household, I literally run a video game company. We probably play more video games than other households, but you know, I think people are always looking for a simple solution to a complex problem, and it's much easier to blame video games than to address guns or to address mental health. So it's much easier to say, well, the video games make my child act this way instead of, oh, my child might have some mental health challenges and we need to address them, and they're not always clear. And so I think that's just like kind of like my precursor. In my own house, we just because I'm kind of hardcore. I used to be a teacher. We don't play video games or watch TV during the week unless it's like a family movie or like a Mario Kart tournament. That's like few and far between. We play a little bit, and then I let them be a little more unstructured on weekends. My kids actually haven't played like multiplayer with their friends, and we haven't done like Minecraft or Roblox yet because I'm putting that off as long as I can. When they do start playing games like that, it has to be in a shared space, no headphones. I need to hear what's going on. And then as they get older, just having like an adult nearby or in the chat sometimes is helpful. I've got a friend whose son is 17, and his stepfather, her husband, actually will play with the kids, and he doesn't intervene. And some of the kids like they say what they want, but he's just letting them know he's there. We do need to be a little bit more protective of our kids online, and maybe a little less protective like in public. But that's just like my personal views. Um, and then just kindergarten rules, like with Minecraft. Did you break something? Was it yours? Like, you broke something that you didn't build? You can't do that. Like you can't do that. Like that's if it doesn't work in kindergarten, then you can't do it online either.
Tell it to those stupid creepers. Man, I hate that enemy.
Right? Oh, dude.
One of the best designed enemies in all of gaming because it doesn't like even necessarily kill you, it kills what you built, which is like almost worse. Like I like remember as a kid, I like hated the creepers like so bad. But it's like a school bully. I mean, it's just they kicked over the sandcastle. I love what you said though about Vanessa. I think that that's like just gold, like what you just delivered. I think there's so many nuggets that I can take from that as an aspiring parent.
Yeah.
I think you know Roblox is really interesting. You have this game now, Grow a Garden. I don't know if like that you describe that as a cozy game, which is now more popular than Fortnite, which is crazy.
Right. Right. Which I never thought we'd see the day, right? Well, actually.
Exploded in popularity. It's showing you kind of the popularity and the ubiquity of cozy gaming across all platforms, and it's in Roblox. The question is like, you know, I think that I grew up on like Warcraft and
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, and that was my childhood. And looking back on it, I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe I was in some of those chat rooms because some of the things that were said were like very vile. Like I'll just be honest, right? It was like not necessarily the safest space for a kid like me. It wasn't necessarily the safest space for women.
Mhm.
It was very like kind of an issue. Um, and it's tough though because you're like, this is how people are social. You know what I mean? And this is like how your class might game. They might be all on Roblox, and this is your friends in the neighborhood might game. And so to miss out on that experience is alienating in some way. I think it's a really tough line to walk in that way.
I think that's a really good point. And I think there's like kind of this, like Jonathan Haidt, Ancients Generation. I'm kind of I'm like 50-50 on that work. Generally, I like his work. Some of the research is being called into question. I just think people should be aware of what they're reading and just like understand that you're getting someone's like life passion when you read that book, and maybe read a variety of sources before you decide that that's where you're going to come down on. But to that point, I guess the most important piece of, like, advice that I didn't actually say is that you absolutely have to be gaming with your kids. Like, there is no workaround for that. And some families might say, "I don't have time, I'm too tired, I don't know how to game." Y if you're gonna let your kid do it, you pretty much like because then first of all, I think it kinda builds that trust. It's like that phenomenon of, like, when you have to talk about awkward things, you talk about them in the car with your kids because they're more open, you're not, like, directly looking into their soul when you're trying to, like, answer that really awkward question they asked. I don't know, it really makes it easier, and then as a parent, I think you have a better understanding of, like, how your kids act in that space. I think so many of us worry that our kids are going to become the victims of something, but we also have to make sure our kids know how to stand up when they see you heard a homophobic slur. What are you going to do about that? Like, are you just going to say nothing or do nothing? What should you do? Like, how do you report that? How do you, and like making sure they can navigate the channel, because that's a higher order thinking skill, to be able to like,
Totally.
you know what I mean? It's like I wouldn't have known how to do that, you know?
I didn't know. I definitely did not stand up for myself in those moments. But I also think that in UGC, which I should describe for people that are listening that are not like hardcore gamers, UGC is like user generated content. And so you have kind of like these amateur game developers that are designing like mini games almost on top of larger games. Like Roblox is almost all UGC. And these are the most like bizarre and social spaces, right? Like this is like the wild, wild west of gaming where everything goes and blah, 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 blah. It's
Extremely viral, yeah.
extremely viral, extremely like soaked in internet culture. Definitely like very popular, I'd say, with like younger kids. Like my whole childhood was built on like Warcraft UGC.
Mhm, mhm.
The worry that I have, at least, that I kind of it's still kind of like this tough balancing act I don't think we have a good solution for, is I just think that UGC is like the deep end when it comes to like you see the worst of the worst stuff on there, or you can like you can be very easily exposed to that, because there's really very few gates on what you can say and what you can build in these games.
Yeah.
Gosh, you're sparking a light bulb in me, Vanessa. I'm like, next company, let's do like a AI parent that's playing
Yeah, like a
games.
moderator. Yeah, for real though, for real. Well, so not to be like, I don't wanna, like, make a hard pivot and like, "Well, here's what we're doing at Better Play," but honestly,
No, please.
like, kinda what we're doing is, we recognize what's going on with UGC, and we're looking at opportunities to leverage that power on Rails. We're looking, there are some positive benefits to that. I talked about self-determination theory before and was like, "Man, it is so cool to have autonomy." Like, the ability to create something. First of all, like what that can inspire, there's kids who they wait their whole day to just make something, and the school system for whatever reason just isn't a good fit for them. This is a great outlet for those kids. They can be creative, they can be social, whatever. So like there's a lot of positives with that. But it definitely, I at this point for my kids, I've said the negatives outweigh the positive at this age, at this time for them. That's why I don't let my kids play Roblox yet. Maybe in the future, and it's pretty much like day by day with them. Things change so fast. Um, but at Better Play, like, we see an opportunity to provide curation. Like, we are a curated and therapeutic gaming library, and I say therapeutic not in, like, an FDA regulatory way, but in a way that, like, we're trying to be, mental health forward, and really create this space that brings to light games that are designed to be more cozy, more holistically good for you, more wellness focused. It means that they're great games, right? So we see what's happening with user generated content, and at the same time, we also see what's happening on Steam, where really amazing games get buried all the time because it is a really tough marketplace to navigate. And some people who don't understand would maybe say, well, that's just the economy. That's capitalism. It must not be a great game if people aren't finding it. It's like, well, no, like there's a lot of forces at play in Steam and in gaming marketplaces. So what we're trying to do is create this alternative for developers to work with us, and we have carved out the space of like, okay, all of our games have been vetted by mental health professionals to highlight their potential, counseling like benefits. Like this could be good for you if you struggle with depression. This could be good for you if you want to feel less lonely or whatever, right? So these mental health professionals have looked at the games, and then moving forward, we want to be able to match games that could potentially improve your mood. So we want our people who come to our platform to understand their relationship with gaming and how it makes them feel. So it's like we've all had a moment where we've played Mario Kart or something that's supposed to be lighthearted, but maybe we feel worse after, and like that's kind of surprising. We're like, well, why do we feel bad? And we want to just invite people into just thinking a little bit more about how gaming impacts them. I think to kind of get back to what you were saying, Max, I think that sometimes, like, especially as when we talk about kids, it's like they don't have they're still kind of they're developing, right? So it's like they don't have that ability to pause and to kind of take stock and say, okay, is this good for me? What did I just witness in this chat room? What just happened when I was playing Warcraft? Like, what did I just experience? Was that good for me? What was my role in this? What was I, and just like we want to invite that introspection, and bring that into the light a little bit more.
Couldn't agree more. Um, so yeah, first of all, humble plug, go play Better Play. If you're a parent, get your kids on Better Play games. That's epic. And I like it's such an important mission. Like, let's just be honest, Vanessa. That's one of the reasons why I love and adore you and your company so much. It's like you are really solving this problem that's very important in gaming, which is how do we take the best components of it, the stuff
Mhm.
about community and the stuff about mental health, and we emphasize that, especially in the vernacular of kids, and de-emphasize the like um, kind of mature themes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. And I think another thing that we didn't mention, Vanessa, that I'm curious your thoughts about. I always tell parents, I'm like, if you celebrate STEM education and you want your kids to consider being like an engineer or a programmer, you have to get them into gaming. Like, it's just like you can't meet a programmer. Every programmer you've ever met, it's like, why'd you start programming? Oh, I wanted to program video games. Almost every single one. That's how I got started. And when you do get to the college level and you start like, real software engineering, it's like almost all engineers are like deep in gaming culture. We play Balatro and Hades and everything. And so it's like you'd be so, I guess, like different if you were somebody who's never played games or don't really
Mhm.
celebrate games. So I think there's so many benefits. There really is.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, and I think too, it's like for us, it's like we're even seeing that seniors are getting really into games. And I know like this is a podcast, and I'm sure your target demo is under the age of 60, but the way that senior gaming is just absolutely exploding, and kind of again, it's people who maybe started, they dipped their toe in with Wordle, and then they got the whole New York Times subscription, and now they're gamers. Like, now this is it. And even the people I've met very recently who they picked up an Xbox, like their grandson said, "Hey, play with me. I want you to play." And it gives like that, like what that does, between generations. But it's like seniors are gaming quite a bit. And so I think there is a real opportunity that we see, especially with cozy gaming, where the mechanics tend to be a little bit more forgiving, and we know that seniors experience loneliness, and there's more research going on about like you know what it's like to be a senior, much more than 30 years ago. So we're seeing a huge opportunity. And so so it's just an awesome time to be in gaming, and it's a tough industry, but you got to be thinking of creative ways to build a sustainable company.
My favorite new like subgenre of games, Vanessa, partly just because I like the name, is the boomer shooter. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I love it. Oh my gosh.
For people that don't know, it's like a lot of older gamers, Gen X, they grew up on like
Hmm.
playing games like Doom, these first person shooters, but they got older, and 34 is a very important age in the world of gaming. It's very clear that, the behaviors of how people game change pretty dramatically and pretty overnight, like after you turn 34, because that's the age that your biological clock starts ticking in and your reaction time starts decreasing. And so any game that involves time pressure, like first person shooters, typically are not that well enjoyed by people over the age of 34.
Right.
But they're nostalgic for them, because they grew up playing first person shooters like Doom. So now you see this emergence of this like subculture of game called the boomer shooter, which is a first person shooter but like slower and like just like a little less like emphasis on like timing and time pressure and reaction time. So it's just so funny to see all these micro trends like occurring in real time.
For sure, for sure. And I'm sure, like, given what you do, I'm sure you get to see, you probably really understand, like, just how big the gaming market is. Like, massive, right? I mean, like, are you seeing opportunities to target these older people? I mean, we know like roughly the average age of the average gamer is 38. So we know that gamers are trending older, which is crazy. But are you seeing like that just in your work, or what are you seeing?
The gaming industry is massive. So like I work in ad tech, and brands will come to me all the time and they'll say, I want to target gamers. And I'm like, okay, you didn't narrow it down at all. You might have
Right.
well just said,
Right.
well, I
It's
want to
everybody,
target
everybody.
humans who breathe air. Exactly. It's everybody. It's everybody. It's
Yeah.
old, it's young, it's men, it's women, it's everybody. It's really massive. The thing that is interesting is that the way that certain demographics game does kind of change pretty dramatically. And sometimes like very like among demographic lines, like I think about first person shooters in particular, right? Like
Mhm.
Fortnite. This is a game that kind of leans like pretty dramatically masculine. But then at the same time, you have like the Sabrina Carpenter integration. And then it's like, you have like a bunch of women like dancing. And then anytime like a stupid guy like wants to come shoot them, the Sabrina Carpenter skins like turn on him. And, and there's 20 of them. So there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, I know, it's a feminist moment. I think we need to just celebrate it.
All right, Vanessa, let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about the uh, the publishing world and like getting funding to like build all these cool games. Like I feel like the publishers are like out of cash, like they are done. It's so weird, you know what I mean? And so now, how do you finance a game in 2025? What's the strategy? What has been your strategy? Is a better play? Tell me everything.
Okay, so what I'm about to say is gonna be super, I don't know. It's gonna be very unsexy to people who don't care about startups, and it's gonna sound very boring. But at Better Play, we started by making video games that were good for your mental health. Like that was like the thesis of our company. The reason my co-founder Michael and I did that is because we had worked with a professional esports team that we helped win a championship. We helped them build a psychometric app and coaching program. They were a losing team. We helped them turn it into a winning team just through certain strategies that we leveraged. We brought experts, esports experts, psychologists, performance experts onto the team. Michael really led that project. He was actually my boss, and then I was his assistant. And so, watching that process happen, watching this team win $500,000 and a ring was an incredible experience. So we were like, man, there is something so powerful about video games and the way that they can make you feel good or bad. And we were like, we have to just dig into this more and make games. So we made games. And then after we built a playable prototype of our first game, The Outdwellers, we were like, holy shit, this is a really expensive process. And it's really tough to get publisher money if you've never done it before. For a myriad of reasons, it is very challenging to raise money as a first time founder in the video game space. It's hard in any industry, but it's really hard in video games because of the subjective nature of the art. There is that art component. This is not SaaS. This is art. So that's like a caveat. We use the customer discovery from the National Science Foundation's I-Corps program to explore. And we were like, okay, well, how can we leverage like our expertise and what we know to be true in a way that's actually going to be build a sustainable company? So my job as one of the founders and CEO is like I have to have like find sustainable revenue, right? Like just making sure that we can actually run this company. So the best way we could do that was through a platform model. So annual subscription platform model. And that's what we're building out now, version 2. So what we do now is eventually we will be making some of our own games. We've made a snapshot of one of our games, but we license content from indie developers to have on our platform. So that is kind of our workaround at saying, okay, you know what? By accident, we're kind of functioning like a micro publisher. It's hilarious that it ended up being this way, but we get to control the platform piece that allows us to have sustainable revenue and to plan a little bit more for the volatility of the industry. And then we're able to leverage the content of people who do the best work. It's an indie gold mine right now. I'm sure you realize that like indie gaming is having a moment. If you're not really familiar with the gaming industry, for the first time ever, indie games and AAA games are about dead even in terms of sales, which is huge for folks like us who are like big indie supporters and who are like, yes, like this is great.
Isn't that so crazy? The hardest media to create of all time, like much harder than a YouTube video or even a movie, like a feature film. It like this is the least gate kept industry. Like you can just be like a team of 4 people, create an indie game and go do it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
win. Yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy.
No, it's absolutely it's
Pretty
like it's people don't understand the moment we're in, right? And so for us as like curators of amazing indie content, it also turns out that a lot of people who make indie games are like, oh my gosh, video games have been really impactful on my mental health. I really want to value my mental health. I want to be at a place that values that. So we end up getting to find people whose values match ours and whose content fits like what we need. And we've commissioned a couple of games for our MVP. That means minimally viable product. So we had a minimally viable product in market. We're no longer putting money into that. And right now, all of our development is going into version 2, which is going to be bigger and better than ever. And yeah, we're at the beginning stages of that. But as we look for new content partners, and we already have existing content partners. Those are the kinds of things we look for. It's like, do they fit our criteria? Do they resonate with our values? What does our mental health team think? And then honestly, my co-founder has a really, really good eye for the content. And it's because he loves video games. He knows this industry, knows the genre like the back of his hand, and really really has a skill for finding the right kind of niche content that fits our budget. So that's what we're focused on right now. So it's a little bit of it's a weird place to be, kind of like in between products. But again, we're early, and that's kind of what's up. But but yeah, I guess to like answer your question, it has been very, very difficult to navigate the publisher world. But the best thing to do is to keep going and to hit milestones, and we've been able to do it without having to use a publisher to this point.
Go you. That's all I can say. You're crushing it. Just being in the game, crushing it. It's really exceptional. I published a few mobile games before I did Adrenaline, the ad network play. And I never went through a publisher either. I just bootstrapped. And then, after my game started charting, like it would be like the top 50 most popular sports game in the US. I was like, okay, surely now I can get a publishing deal and it can be like pretty excellent, right? And then even then I went to publishers and they still were like, yeah, we can give you like 30 grand for like half your company. And I'm like,
Half your equity, yeah.
okay, no, that's like ridiculous. It's insane. It's insanely weird the moment that we're in. It feels pretty much like you should get the whole idea of a publisher out of your head. Like you need to pretty much, if you're going to go the indie route, you pretty much need to figure out how to be scrappy and how to like develop it basically with no money until the point that sales can drive you forward. Cause that's really how it happens, right?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, where we're at right now, what I would tell companies is, like, make sure you can find a path towards sustainability. That seems to be super important. Raising the venture capital, raising the money, like, that is good for some companies, but you really have to have that path to sustainability, and I think a lot of, game dev studios don't wanna hear that, like, they don't wanna hear that maybe they should be taking some other contracts as well, and I look at it I used to kinda be like that of like, "Well, no, we can't. We're a video game company, like, we're gonna just do this," but you know what? Like, there is a big need in corporate America. People in corporate America, first of all, like, have no idea how to gamify anything, and, they'll hire software companies that don't understand gaming to do it, and they will not do a good job, and then they've just wasted a bunch of money on a crap product. But imagine like so I always encourage, like, people who wanna start, a game studio, it's like, think big about this, like, make your game, like, do the thing you love, but also think about how you can make this into a sustainable business, and that tends to be, like, the advice I give, and that's kinda what we did, and we're it has not been perfect, like, don't get me wrong, but we're finding our way, just fine, and we're still running, so and still doing what we love. Like we still I'm so lucky to be doing this work. Like I still get to talk about, the benefits of video games every day. That's like what better job like is there, honestly.
I love that you mentioned this, Vanessa, because that's exactly how I financed my first game. Like my studio, when I call it that, is like literally just like a couple of friends who are engineers and an artist. Like we made we programmed gamified apps for businesses. Like we got hired by like a Boston like hospitality company to build a restaurant ordering app so we could like order food and beverages
Love
at
it.
their restaurants without talking to a service worker. And that's like literally like our revenue for like a year while were like building this game in stealth too.
Right.
And I think that there's a balancing act there though, because I think yes, like that model of like you're doing contract work as well as developing your own IP is good and maybe the right way to go. But at the same time, I think some companies can get lost in the contract work.
Yeah. That's fair.
It can bury them. Yeah, they don't actually like ship something ever at that point because it's just they know so much work to do.
No, I think that's a fair point.
I know like there's another company that I really admire in Michigan that we know and love, Corbin Reeves of Azure Ravens.
Oh yeah.
He's like
Mhm.
very if you talk to him, he's very like anti-contract work. Um, which is interesting. His philosophy as a game studio owner is very much like you should own all the IP that you make. Like if you do contract work, you're never getting your head above water. I don't know. It kind of worked out for me. So like
Yeah.
I think that there's success stories and fail stories, of course, both ways.
And I think too, it's like there isn't really like a one size fits all solution for what we're trying to do. Um, and I haven't talked about this, but there's like a pretty heavy scientific component to our work. So we just wrapped up phase one of a 4-part study that will end in a randomized controlled trial. So our chief science officer is Nick Bowman, Dr. Nick Bowman from Syracuse University. He's the one that's like helping us leverage the power of media psychology, particularly mood management theory. That's what we're based on. So there's a pretty heavy science component to what we're doing. And I say all that because for our company, yes, we have this gaming platform, but there's a lot that goes into it. And so I think that we are actually we're well positioned for some to be a little bit more scrappy like that than a pure game dev studio. So I think that's a good distinction, maybe.
Yeah, totally. Vanessa, maybe like last buzzer beater question here. Like what i- give us like the biggest success case. Like let's say like Better Play goes exactly the way you want it. Like what it would be Better Play's legacy in the gaming industry.
Yeah, so if this went like Absolutely the best way possible. I mean, this would be an incredible gaming library and tool for people of all ages to just, unlock the power of video games, to just turn to this place, play on this platform, and leave better than when they started. We really hope we are hoping to be thought leaders in this space. We want to eventually even have, like, a nonprofit wing, like, some availability to offer what we do for free. I believe there will always be a free component, but what I'm getting at is that, like, for me, Better Play in its, like, fullest, best expression is actually a public health tool. Like, video games are something that everybody uses, everybody plays, and we are in a mental health crisis, and video games are hiding in plain sight as powerful tools to support us along our journey.
I love that. I'm so excited. Let's make it happen.
I love it. Yeah, and yeah, thanks. I'm gonna need to be talking to you about some of the work you do because I think your company could be an amazing partner.
It'd be cool. Vanessa, last question here. How do people find you on social media? And also, what are 3 video games that people should be playing right now?
Yeah, social media, we're on Instagram. We are no longer on X, and we are on LinkedIn at BetterPlay Studios underscore Inc. So BetterPlay Studios and then BetterPlay Studios underscore Inc. And then, man, 3 video games. I said Ultra Food Mess. I think it's great. It's a hit in the hospital. As far as cozy games go, if it's I know it's 2025, but if you haven't played Stardew Valley, you're really missing out. Like, Stardew Valley is, like, my favorite go-to, always return to it, always feel better. Um, and then, man, I gotta have a third one here, gotta have a third one. I really like this game called Rime. It's Rime. It is, made by some of our friends, in Texas, actually, at 6 Foot Studios. There's other teams on it as well, but I don't wanna spoil it and give too much away, but you're actually working through the stages of grief when you play that game, but you don't realize it necessarily. It's a beautiful game, so I would recommend Rime.
All right, fantastic. Vanessa, it was such a treat that we're going to have another conversation with you soon.
Thanks so much, Max. Love what you're doing. Keep it up.